But now we're going to transition over to the defensive side of the ball, and we'll be a little briefer here. But again, feels like there was a lot more to talk about offensively. Defensively, I'll lead us off. My first point, I don't have film for. But
Sorry, Shane, shall we just talk about very, very briefly why I hate the trade the Eagles have just made without watching the player once?
Because he's a slot.
I basically just think everyone's getting carried away. Like, everyone's like, oh, DeJean's going outside. Like, I don't think they're moving Cooper DeJean outside because they've just added someone called Michael Carter. Like, he was a good start in 2024. He maybe won't be, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. I'm going to watch him tomorrow. Maybe I'll go, God, he's so good. They're definitely going to play him in the slot.
Watch his 2023 film.
That was when he was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the Jets traded Michael Carter, which is a cornerback, and a 2027 7th rounder to the Eagles for John Mechie and a 2027 6th rounder. So the Eagles got rid of a guy they're not using at all and traded a 6th rounder for a 7th rounder, and they pick up Michael Carter Jr. And I'll just mention Michael Carter briefly. In 2023, Michael Carter Jr. was a phenomenal player for the Jets. Mark and I on Chalk Talk do an exercise every summer where we do an expansion draft and we establish protected players on a team, and we got killed by Jets fans for not protecting Michael Carter Jr., choosing him as one of their protected players that year. And we drafted him onto our expansion team because he was such a good player. Now, in 2024, he had a back injury that cost him 2/3 of the season. I think he dealt with a concussion earlier this year, and he hasn't played much, and when he hasn't played well over the last 2 seasons. But if you want to see good Michael Carter, to try to sell you on this, Johnny, go watch him in 2023 because he was awesome.
I will go and watch him. I will just point out, I think Fangio's defense is so communication-based and so much about rhythm and reps. The idea you can just take a guy off the street this week and go, right, you're playing slot next week. I don't see it personally. I struggle to believe he'll be that much better in the slot that it will be like, oh my goodness, it's worth moving DeJean outside. And do I have DeJean as a point this week? If I don't, I should. Bad job by me. I don't, which is annoying because you falsely accuse him of not being as good in the run game this year, which is actually true because he hasn't been this year. But he was unbelievably
You literally just said you falsely accused him of this, but it was true.
Yep.
I just want to make sure you caught that.
Just watch his play in the run game this week. We're not even talking about it. Read the Bleeding Green article. He was unbelievably good against the run this week. Like, I don't get it. Maybe they will move him outside. Maybe he'll be amazing. He will be because he is amazing. And I'll be wrong. I assume it's just to give him an option.
Yeah,
I think it's just giving
Michael
him an option.
Carter will not play outside cornerback. The Jets list him at 5'11", 184. He was 5'9" at the combine, and I highly doubt he's grown 2 inches since the combine. So he is not tall. He is 8th percentile height, 10th percentile weight. If he's on the field, it's going to be as a slot cornerback. And so I don't know that means they're going to move DeJean outside, but I do like the move because you gave nothing. You gave up a player you weren't going to play for him. And it just, even if the whole thing is he's just Cooper DeJean getting injured insurance, I think it's worth it at that point. So I like the trade.
Nothing.
And
the trade's nothing in terms of cost. Like, it doesn't matter. The cost is irrelevant.
And I would not be surprised if they experiment with putting him on the field some, especially if Ringo/Jackson really struggles down the stretch.
Yeah, right. We got to be quicker now because we spent time talking about that. So I'll even make that one. I'll make that my first point because, in all honesty, I got 2 things I want to talk about this week, Shay. My first point is going to be Michael Carter. Poor Moro Jomo. He played well. There you go. That's my point, but point 1B. Start us off with your first point on defense.
All right. Well, my first point, I just wanted to talk about Nakobe Dean and Jahad Campbell's usage. And I don't have film for this, but in nickel defense this week, Jahad Campbell was on the field for 11 snaps of nickel, and Nakobe Dean was on the field for 23 snaps of nickel. And our friend Dennis Selman pointed out that the Giants had a 9% success rate when Campbell was on the field in nickel, and a 39% success rate when Dean was on the field in nickel. Now, that's a small sample size, and we're not going to read too much into that. But all I want to say is that, again, Campbell was the odds-on favorite for Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was playing well. He was making strides. as a run defender, which I think was his weakness. He's a better player in coverage than Nakobe Dean is, and he's not as good in run defense, but there's sometimes, like, the wheel route that Nakobe Dean gave up was a 3rd and long, and you've got Nakobe Dean on the field instead of Jahad Campbell. You had Jordan Davis on the field instead of, like, Moro Ojimo, and I don't understand a little bit of the personnel usage there. But my overall point is just that Jahad Campbell averaged 62 snaps per game coming into this game, and he only played 21 snaps. And coming into this game, 70% of his snaps were at off-ball linebacker, and in this game, only 48% of those came at off-ball linebacker. Now, I understand they're very thin at edge. Brandon Graham didn't play this week. Nolan Smith is still hurt. Azeez Ojulari is still hurt. And so if it was like, hey, we had to put somebody at edge, so we just put him at edge for a 1-week thing, okay. But they didn't even play him that much. So it wasn't like they played him at edge a lot. They just didn't play him much. And so my concern is about Jahad Campbell and his development. And I know, like, you have to balance putting your best player on the field with future development. I just don't think overall Dean is that much better than Campbell. And so I'm curious to see how they flesh this out, what they do with it. The whole annoying thing from the draft about they're going to develop him as an edge rusher is coming back up. He's not an edge. He's not. I had somebody arguing with me online. It was like, he played edge at Alabama. 11% of his snaps at Alabama over his 3-year career came at edge. He is not an edge. No. Asking him to develop as an edge is doing him a disservice. And so,
Fangio agrees with you. Just watch any Fangio press conference. I agree 100% with you. I thought their usage was sort of crazy in this game in some ways. I didn't love it, if I'm honest. He's just not on edge. He's not rushing the quarterback. He rushed the quarterback 3 times this week and 3 times last week. He is not an edge rusher. I agree with you. If it's something they do long term, and I hate it if it's the rest of the year, I think it's just a couple of weeks things. And when Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham are here, we will not speak of it ever again.
Yeah.
I think it's just a short term thing.
That's my hope as well.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's like you. That's what I hope, because it's just not. It's not beneficial. Right? Can I get into my first point?
Yes.
Literally just play one of my film thread. I want to show a single play. So sometimes I think one play can show you, and if you pause it pre-snap, actually, that'd be perfect. One play can show you everything that sums up why a defense is so successful. Fangio has made a living out of running a variety of coverages, and a bit like my run game point from earlier on, you don't need to run many. You need to run a few and make them all look the same. The Eagles, this is the most standard Eagles look you'll see in the secondary. 2 deep safeties, both corners in line with each other. If I was to ask you here, what are the corners going to play the same technique? You'd probably go, yeah, they literally look identical. If I was to ask you, are the safeties going to play the same technique? You'd go, yeah, because look how similar they look. If you're a quarterback pre-snap, Shane, what tell have you got between whether this is cover 4, cover 6, cover 8, or even a rotation into cover 3? There is no tell at all. In the slightest. And what the Eagles played a lot of last week was quarters. And when they played quarters, they got killed with outbreaking routes. So I complain that teams were finding it too easy, because if you just very quickly, Shane, just imagine these 4 defensive backs are going back into quarters coverage. If you just run your outside receiver on a go route, your inside receiver on a slot, they're basically open 99% of the time. And that happened a lot last week. Fangio looks like he's playing quarters, but he's not. He's actually playing quarter half. Easiest rotation in the world. It just means the top 2 at the top of the screen are running quarters technique, which means they're playing cover 4 technique. But on this side of the field, they're running half technique, which means Cooper DeJean, almost like a trap 2 coverage that you sometimes see teams run with cover 2, where it looks like cover 4, but it's cover 2. It just means that Cooper DeJean is sitting there. And I love watching Jackson Dart's brain fully. And do you know what? Fair play to him for not throwing it, because processing wise, he's like, I've got it, here we go. And he's like, oh no, he just spots it. Now, if he was really good, he could have risked that deep shot in that whole shot, but that would have been a hell of a throw, because I think the safety is actually in a pretty good position. Cooper DeJean is just waiting for this ball. He's going to light him up, or he's going to pick 6 it, depending on where the ball goes. And it's just such a beautiful play. When people ask me, why is Fangio's defense so hard to throw on? Because when it's communicated well, when everyone's in sync, it is so hard to read, because everything looks the same. There is no way you can tell this is cover 6 or quarter half, basically until a second after the snap. You might be able to guess if I'm a really good quarterback. I might be looking at the DeJean now and thinking, but it's hard, man. It's so hard. DeJean plays it perfectly where you're not really sure until you throw it where he's going. And by this point, a great quarterback will get to their third and full three, darts like, screw this, my brain has got no idea what I'm doing, tuck it, run, go. And I don't blame him in the slightest. So I wanted to show one play. It's a great example. There was a few plays in this game, actually, where they disguise coverage really well. But that one stood out as, firstly, if you don't know what quarter half is, or cover 6, you do now. But secondly, just as a way of showing why Fangio's defense is so hard to throw against when it's in sync.
I have thrown so many pick sixes for that exact reason. Playing Madden, it's not even funny. But yeah, we're not here to litigate my Madden career. So let's keep rolling here. I'm actually going to start with that exact same play that you just showed because I want to talk about Jalix Hunt. Jalix Hunt had a really good statistical game here. He had 1 sack, 9 pressures on 22 pass rushes. His previous high was 5 pressures. And I think he had a good game. But I don't think he had the game some people think he did because he doesn't really win very often so much as he's high effort and he plays smart. And so on this play you just showed, I've got the back view here, but he's going to rush upfield and he realizes oh, I am past the quarterback. And he works back to the quarterback and pursues him on the scramble. And that one becomes a tackle. I think it was a 1-yard gain, so he doesn't get the sack here. This is one of his better plays, I think. He's going to bull rush against Jermaine Illuminor, who is not a good tackle. But he bull rushes him back into the pocket, and then he's going to disengage and pursue Jackson Dart. So it's a good bull rush, back into the pocket, disengages, and then unfortunately misses the sack. And the Eagles did a lot of that in this game. But again, that's probably one of his better rush reps on the day, I think. On this next play, just really good effort pursuing backside. He's got to make sure Jackson Dart doesn't bootleg out of here. And then once he realizes he doesn't, he goes and makes the tackle. So that's a good effort play. And his effort is never lacking. This is another one where he's going to work back to the quarterback from the left side of the screen here. And so again, he rushes pretty deep. And he sees, Josh Uche rushed really deep and there's nobody here. And he works back and he gets the sack here. And so that's a really good play. I thought he did a really good job against Dart's scrambling ability, just keeping him contained. So I wanted to shout out Jalix Hunt, who I think played a good game. I don't think he played as good of a game as people that look at the stats on NFL Pro or PFF think that he played. But
Next Gen Stats tweet wrecked people's brains.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I feel bad, man. I don't want to be the guy that's I like Jalix Hunt. He seems like an awesome dude. His mum commented on our podcast last year. But, oh my goodness, have you ever seen a performance where the stats don't back the performance in the same way? I can't think of one. I read the Next Gen Stats tweet, 9 pressures on 22 pass reps. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm watching it and I'm like,
pressures are sometimes a QB stat.
Just looked fine. He just looked like he has before.
Yeah. He's a
sort of mental.
He is a very smart player with a lot of awareness and he's a hard worker. But he wasn't necessarily lighting up tackles in this game.
No. Right. I'll get to my final point. And we've already done Michael Carter. Twitter's going mad about it. Lots of good tweets coming out from people like James Palmer saying they're not moving DeJean to the outside. It's just depth. So I did read someone saying that Parry Nickerson was cut. I'm trying to find out if that's true.
That is true.
And if that is true, then there you go. Maybe the Eagles want to run more dime as well. So he's your new, because you can obviously play 2 slot quarterbacks if you play more dime as well. But there you go. Right, I want to finish
Johnny,
with
we can't
rush.
even figure out what to do with our 2 linebackers in nickel. Can you imagine only having one?
One, yeah.
They're just like, we don't know if we should play Nakobe Dean or Jihad Campbell, so we're just going to not play either one.
Yeah. So, first of all, Let's get into Brandon Fawn. If you don't subscribe to his Substack, you should. It's awesome. He does something called a true sack report. And long story short, the Eagles pass rushers suck at getting sacks this year. And I won't read every single number. I shared them on Discord earlier on, but to give you the very, very basic summary, he does a top 51 sack score. There is one Eagles defender in it, a Jomo at 46. It's not great, I would say, if you want to win a Super Bowl, having one of the top 51 players in overall sack score at all. So I want to talk a little bit about this idea of pass rush versus secondary in this week, because the Eagles got 5 sacks, but I'm convinced it was because of the secondary and not because of the pass rush themselves. And I didn't think the pass rush was particularly good in general. And actually, when you go back and watch the game, and I was glad Fangio said it, it's one of the things I like about Fangio a lot is he's very honest. In his analysis, there was a lot of plays where I just didn't feel like the pass rush got home, and the secondary basically bowed them out. I've already shown the quarter half one, which is one example where the pass rush doesn't get home and the secondary works, but I've got a couple of others to show as well. Let's start as I go through my film, but let's just start with play 6. I'll just show a couple of examples of what I mean, I guess, where this is a 3rd and long. So this is 4 down linemen, send them, go. Don't worry about a run play, just get after the quarterback, get out the field. And when you are about to hit play, Shane, you'll just see there isn't a great amount of juice from the 4 pass rushers. Like, that's a pretty nice NFL pocket, and Quinion does a really good job in coverage of Darius Slayton down the field. I watched that play a few times, and I was like, there's just not a great deal of collapse. But I think the best example is play 7. And I think this is an awesome play, because this is also an example of why when you're learning how to play Madden and someone says, what you do is pre-snap, you send the guy in motion, because if he follows him, they're in man. And if he doesn't, they're in zone. Jackson Dart's been playing too much Madden because his brain is all over the place here, because the Eagles don't follow the motion man. Therefore, he predicts zone, but they're actually running man. And this is a great example, by the way, of why you trust both your safeties. I'm assuming it would have been Makuba, possibly in man coverage. Instead, he runs across the other field. So Blankenship takes him in coverage, and the Eagles are comfortable having Blankenship do that. And by the way, Blankenship doesn't win. The guy's open, but Dart's brain is so frazzled that he doesn't throw it because he doesn't know what he's seeing. Now, the Eagles get a sack. What a great play. Jalen Carter gets a sack. Yeah. But this is where Brandon Fawn would not call this a high-quality sack. This is a pretty dreadful pass rush, and Dart has all day to get this ball out, and it's a bad sack to take. And this happened quite a lot. There were quite a lot of good examples where the pass rush didn't get home, and the secondary basically bowed them out. So I want to talk about this idea of everyone coming away going, we've got 5 sacks. Pass rush is brilliant. I felt like that wasn't the case. I was disappointed with the pass rush overall, and I think it was the secondary that was the major reason why the Eagles had 5 sacks in this game. And I don't think that's a surprise, because the Giants' second receivers suck, and I did not expect them to have any success. This is the exact game I expected them to have 2 weeks ago. So I'll finish my final point this week by mentioning that I think it was the secondary rather than the pass rush.
Yeah, that was like an 8.5 second time to sack right there.
Yeah, that's not going to be Brandon Fawn's high-quality sack, is it?
You know you're facing a scrambling quarterback that just runs into sacks when he has 5 sacks for 14 yards or whatever it was as well. But okay, let's go to my final point. I'll bring us home talking about Zack Baun, the Bald Eagle. Had an awesome game, I thought, in this one. Did some really good stuff. I just want to show a few plays, just kind of the diversity of his game. This first one, he's following a motion man, and I have no idea why they would try to run a screen pass and just not block Zack Baun, but they do, and it ends really poorly for them. Like, what are they thinking? I have no idea. That's just poor offense, but Zack Baun is all over it. But here, this is 84 was so tired of him by the end of the game. Watch right here. He's going to trigger downhill, takes on this tight end, just throws him to the side, and goes and makes a tackle in the hole. This is a really good rep. Cooper DeJean can't really make this rep very well. Cooper DeJean has to get those run-throughs, but Zack Baun is able to take on blocks and shed them and continue to work. this is a really good coverage rep. He's down here kind of lined up as a slot. And watch him take away 3 receivers on this play. So he jams the first guy, knocks him off for out, and then he sinks under the slant, and then he comes down to the running back. And then he just follows the running back because, again, we can't get sacks when guys are open. But that's such a good play by him. Literally takes away 3 guys all in one play. Here's another example of him taking on an offensive lineman this time, and he disengages and goes and gets in on a tackle. And then the final one I wanted to show, they have run a play like this before, where they went 4 strong with a running back in the backfield, and they tried to run a little screen, and it worked the first time. You don't get to run the same screen against Zack Baun twice. Look at how quickly he triggers out to, this is a screen pass all the way. And Jackson Dart can't even throw it because Baun is full speed sprinting at the snap. And Dart ends up just having to throw it away. And so Zack Baun is such an incredible player. I know we talked about last year how he absolutely must be re-signed. And I'm so glad that we get to continue to watch him play football at such a high level.
Can you imagine if we didn't? My brain would be in, especially with Jalen Carter not being Jalen Carter this year. I think the best 3 defenders have quite obviously been Baun, Cooper, and Quinion, and there can be almost no debate around that. Yeah, wow, we've done it under an hour, Shane, with 2 lots of breaking news. The Krabby breaking news, and then obviously the lesser important breaking news, which was the signing of a hopefully non-starting nickel cornerback before I lose my mind. If anyone wants to watch a film review of Michael Carter, I will do it tomorrow in Patreon. So if you want to sign up for the Sideline Pass and watch a film review, you can have a look at Michael Carter tomorrow, and you can watch me just say really bad things about him to make it clear that Cooper DeJean should stay in the nickel. I'm just kidding. I'll, of course, evaluate what I see. So, yeah. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, if you evaluate him with your Cooper DeJean bias aside, you're going to like Michael Carter's 2023 film.
2023 film. I've got to go back that far. It's always good when you sign a player in October of 25. You have to go back to his 23 film.
Listen, Jonny,
Who else was good in 2023? Someone in the chat. Give me someone who was good in 2023.
He's been hurt. He's healthy. Maybe.
I don't know. Who was
not.
good in 23? Now I'm trying to think of someone who's terrible now and was good in 23.
Trevor Lawrence, was he? Oh, no, wait. He hasn't ever been good in the NFL.
He's always been bad. Well, debatable.
That's not true. He did have that one stretch.
Top 10 QB, Shane.
Geno Smith was good in 2023.
He was. Massive downgrade when the Seahawks traded him away. On other final thoughts news, they've just announced that Terry McLaurin has re-injured his quad and is out on Sunday. Man. So things are going extremely well for Washington this year. Who saw the old team going into the season struggling? Who saw that coming? Not me, clearly.
Everyone that's not in Washington. But to be fair, Terry McLaurin's not that old. It's the young guys getting hurt that's killing him. I guess. Wow, Terry McLaurin's 30?
He's 30, man.
Okay, he's old.
Yeah, he's their franchise cornerstone. He's 30 years old.
Jaden Daniels, however, getting injured twice. That's really bad luck for them.
Personally, tier 1 QB, Jaden Daniels. Better than everyone, Jaden Daniels. Let's get out of here before we just moan about the Ringers QB rankings for another 10 minutes.
All right. Well, that is going to do it, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this episode of On the Shane Page, the episode that almost wasn't. Certainly appreciate you guys that are here in the live chat. We will have the edited video up on Patreon later. The audio will hit the podcast feed later this afternoon as well. And there'll be, like I said, lots of other stuff going into the Patreon. So come check us out at patreon.com/Eagles Film Room. That supports this show, and it lets us do so much more other content that you guys can check out over there. Grab a free 1-week trial of any tier, and we really think that you will enjoy it. So let's get out of here. We will catch you guys next week for some show that is not a film show because there is no game this weekend. But you guys enjoy the Eagles free weekend, and we will be back next week for a mailbag and maybe some other fun surprises too. Go Birds.